The first topic I want to discuss, I think, is a really sensitive topic, but I don't really find a lot of people are talking about this, and I'm surprised by it. Are all of you aware of the abortion law that was passed in the U.S.? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys know what the law is now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That abortions are banned in
Right.
the U.S.
Yeah.
So
In
I've
all states.
all states,
Okay.
all across the U.S. So
Wow.
the way they kind of set it up is that if the female is a minor, there are some ways that she still can possibly get an abortion, and one of the ways would be is if her parents were involved. So she would have to speak to her parents and tell them what happened. So a lot of girls are terrified of doing that. If a girl's 15 years old or 14 years old, that's kind of tough to do. The second thing is, if they're not going to go through the parents, the other option is that they have to go to court and they have to explain their entire scenario on why it happened, how it happened.
Mm.
And the judge can ask all kinds of questions, and that can be reliving, trauma or a nightmare or whatever it may be. So because of that, there's a lot of young teen girls in the U.S. that end up having the child. So in regards to numbers, I mean, these numbers are staggering. I had no idea that these numbers were this high. So first off, when it comes to abortions in the U.S. when they were legal, in 2021, there was 625,000 abortions that took place. Okay. And that number is a conservative number because there's a lot of states that don't report their numbers. And then in comparison to that, if we look at Canada in the same year, in Canada, there's 87,500.
Is that quick question? Is that including like necessary medical abortions or just
All of
like
it.
that's a
All.
combined number? Okay.
Yeah, basically legal induced abortions, right?
Okay.
So in Canada, our numbers are, almost, 8 times less, right? And of course, the population is a bit different.
Yeah, what
too.
is the ratio to the population? There's like roughly 35 million in Canada. I'm not
40
sure.
million, right?
40 million. And then what about US?
About 250. So that's a
250.
reason.
Yeah,
And
so it's still, it's like a fifth.
It's still pretty high.
Yeah.
And then now, out of those 625,000, 57% of them were women in their 20s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if we look back at numbers, let's say if we go back a couple of decades, so we said 625,000 in 2021. In 1991, it was 1 million. And if you go back to 1980, it was over 1.3 million. So the abortion rate has definitely dropped in the U.S. So we'll get into that after and discuss why that possibly did happen. And then approximately 350,000 teens under the age of 18 get pregnant in the U.S. on a yearly basis. That's a staggering number. If you look at it, there's 365 days in a year. That's 1,000 teens getting pregnant. Is that 1,000 or 100? My math off here?
Well,
Why aren't you
okay,
looking
I'm
at
gonna
good math?
probably get a lot of fucking hate for this coming my way.
No,
but
wait, before you do make that call, I know what you're going to say. Let me continue just the numbers here, okay? 82% are unintended, like they didn't plan the pregnancy, okay? 55% out of those 350,000 ended up giving birth, okay? 14% had miscarriages and 31% had abortions out of that 350,000, okay? When it comes to adoption, only 5% of these teens end up putting their kids up for adoption. And the cost of getting an abortion in Canada, it's probably about around $800 to $1,000. Obviously, OHIP for us, it's covered. So if someone comes in from a foreigner comes in, and if it has to be like a surgical procedure, then it can cost up to $2,000. So what did you want to say?
I was gonna say I just want a quick question. Out of the 350,000 kids or young teens that gave birth, and you said a certain got pregnant.
Yeah.
And how many gave birth?
55%.
So 50. So out of half of that number, so that's just over 150,000 teens. How many of those kids ended up in childcare because the parents that had them were unequipped to have them?
childcare.
and ended up in CAS because their parents were too young and they couldn't take care of them.
This is Canada. You're talking about Canada. I'm talking about these numbers are for the U.S. U.S. doesn't
Just
have
strictly U.S.
350,000 teens. Yeah, that's the U.S. U.S. doesn't have childcare. You're basically
Not
stuck with
child care like CAS. So they don't have
children's services.
children's services.
I didn't know that.
No, so these. That's why we're talking about how many of them were given up for adoption, right? So the U.S. runs differently than we do. Even here in Canada as well too, a lot of these teens that end up having children, they keep the child.
Yes, but the child is actually the one that suffers because the teen is a teen themselves, and it's not usually them that's taking care of them. It's usually the grandparents, and clearly the grandparents aren't taking care of the kid well enough if the kids get pregnant at 16. And I know this for a fact because I was one of those kids. And I'm not saying it was for the best. I got pregnant at 13, and when I went to my father, my dad laughed at me and he goes, "I'm not raising your child. I planned my life for my retirement around 2 kids." And he said, "You choose to have that child. I divorce your mom. I take the retirement fund. Bye-bye. I watch her lose the house. What do you want to be, a homewrecker, Cheyenne?" So I decided, okay, I'm going to go have an abortion. Had the abortion. It taught me 2 things that I shouldn't have learned at that age. How easy it was to clean up a mistake like that and just boom, boom, because then I ended up doing it a couple more times. But at the end of the day, my dad also had a point. No man would have loved, it would have been harder to find a guy that I wanted with 2 different kids, 3 different kids with, 2 different baby dads. Like I know friends with 3, 4 baby dads.
Yeah. So what the purpose of the discussion really is that, first of all, who here is pro-life? No one. And who's pro-choice? Everybody else? All of the 3 main religions don't agree with abortion. Even if the woman was, you have to keep the child, right? So what are your thoughts on that? Do you know, I mean, of course you spoke about your own situation, right? Did that affect you?
Yes, because growing up, like when it happened, I always blamed everybody around. Like I blamed my father because I did have friends that were popping out kids at 15, 16 and their parents were supporting it. And I seen it as my parents don't support me. But flash forward 20 years, I got 3 college degrees. I have a great job. I have a great family. I got married first before I had kids. And I'm not saying anything the opposite. I'm glad I did that the way I did. I felt like even to this day, I feel like right now at 32, if I had a kid, I feel like I'd be inadequate. Honestly, no. So
No.
I feel like it gave me a chance to be a better person. I don't think I'd be even remotely I wouldn't be a contributing member to society. Put it that
Well,
way.
you know what? My argument to that is that if the age of consent is 16 in Canada, and in the U.S. there's some states that it's 14. I think that you're almost like you're promoting it, right? Like if you're going to allow kids to have sex when they're 16, there's going to be some kids that have unprotected sex. And now the girl gets pregnant because the laws say you can be 16, you can have sex. So either change the fucking rule or
I don't think that would work though.
I agree.
I mean, think about all the things we've banned. We've prohibited alcohol. We've prohibited weed for so long. Weed was illegal. And the only difference is people get all the things that they're getting now that they have to pay the government for or a company for. They're getting it underground. They're
But
getting it through the market.
I don't think
And it's the same thing with that. Like, kids are still going to fuck whether you like it or not. Like, you can make a law. Like, do you think it stopped me
No,
as
they
a
will.
teen from
my
balling up?
No, my point here is it's not about, you know what? Most of these, I'm not saying all, but a lot of these pregnancies that happen with underage girls, it's with legally aged guys. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a 16-year-old having sex with a 16-year-old, but because the age of consent is 16, so that 6-year-old will have sex with a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old, and then she'll get pregnant. That's what I'm talking about. And then the guy will be like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not looking after that kid.
So essentially, the higher the age of consent,
Then it becomes a law.
then it's statutory rape.
There you go.
It's a higher risk, and someone's going to think double.
So I don't think that if they change the law, like for example, I see some of you girls have tattoos, right? The law isn't that you have to be legally 18 to get a tattoo. People misunderstood that. It's that tattoo parlors will not allow you to get a tattoo if you're under the age of 18. And if you're under the age of 18, you must get a letter of consent from your parents. So what does that do? That prevents people kids who are 14, 15, they're going to get a fucking tattoo. They're going to regret a year, 2 years, because some guy might want to get, my heart belongs to Lisa or some shit. And then 2 months later, Lisa's like with his best friend or whatever it may be. And now he regrets it. Right. So I agree. And I'm happy that, even one of the business I had, there's a tattoo parlor next door. And I've spoken to them and said, no, it's not a law, but we're not going to put a tattoo on someone who's 15 years old. We don't give a shit because he's not mature enough to make that decision. So if owners of tattoo parlors are saying that a person who's 15 is not mature or 16 is not mature enough to make a decision on a tattoo, they're mature enough to decide on who's going to be dicking who at 16. Like, I don't know. So, Simi, you want to say something?
Yeah, I am with you on this point. I think having the abortion law, the girls are not supposed to have sex firstly when they're like in the consent. I know it happens and they will be doing it because I think more you stop them, more kids want to do that stuff. So that's always that's the nature, or that's always been there. But if the abortion law is there, so they will hesitate a little, even if they get pregnant. So it's always in the back of their head while having sex as well. Are they using protection? So that's also the point. Like, they are thinking. So if the law is not there, there is nothing to think about. Like they know they can go to a clinic and they can get wiped out. So there's nothing
What's
to
there to stop
worry
them?
about.
Yeah, the best form of protection is prevention. So
Yes.
if kids were educated from school from a young age that you cannot have sex until you're 18, I'm just saying, for example, a lot of kids won't have sex until they're 18.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, honestly, that might be where you grow up. I'm just saying, I was having
don't think
sex on
that's
on
true.
lawns. I was having sex on green boxes.
No. Again, you're the we're not talking. You're not the
I'm not
majority.
I'm not the
You're the
exception.
exception.
I'm
No,
talking about.
I agree with Cheyenne
I'm
on
literally
this.
like 80% of 80% of Brampton. There's people screwing inside Toys for Tots boxes.
No. Listen,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that even if you were to, it's basically saying that now that marijuana is legal, you're going to tell me that there's still the numbers are higher on people who are buying it illegally? No, that's the way it is. Like even when it comes to alcohol, right? So if they raise the limit on what you can drink, do you think that, or if they reduced it, you think it is going to prevent some
Weed
people?
has a limit. There is a limit.
No, I'm saying for if you drive, right?
Yeah.
And you get what are those called? What are they called? Stop. What do they call them? Then there's
Checkpoint.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So now let's say if you get pulled over and you blow into the machine, there's a limit.
Yeah.
Right. And if you blow over that, your car is gone, your license is gone, you're screwed. Okay. If they lower that number, people are going to drink less when they get behind the wheel. They don't want to lose their fucking. There's still people who won't care.
Yeah.
But there are going to be some people, you know what? I can only have one beer. I'm not going to even have that or whatever because I know I'm going to be driving. I got a job. I got responsibilities. I can't lose my license. So I'm not saying that everyone's going to stop all of a sudden, but what it is going to do, it's going to prevent people from opening up this Pandora's box of a girl having sex when she's 16 with some guy who's 23 or 24.
Yeah.
And another thing as well, and this kind of I find correlates with this, and you girls can tell me if I'm wrong or right about this. Has it not kind of become status quo that a girl will lose her virginity at her prom?
No.
I did not
Way
know that
before
was a
that.
thing.
Yeah, I lost my virginity in
Yeah.
grade 5. The
Oh,
summer of grade 5 going into
Grade
grade 6.
5?
Oh, wow, that is
Yeah,
young.
grade 5. This is what I'm trying to explain
You're,
to you.
you're the exception, Cheyenne. I don't know a
all
lot of
my
people
I
at
don't
grade
know, like-
5 that's 10 years old.
Okay.
I was
Not
grade 5 going into
but-
grade 6, and I
11.
was actually 11.
I don't know a lot of people
I'd like to
11.
interject.
Yeah.
We made
Yeah, that's a
marijuana
shocker.
legal because we wanted to practice safe substance abuse, safe. That's even why, and I think they did take it overboard in BC a bit with making everything legal. They took it a bit, but that's what they're trying to do. And even the same thing, it's like they're gonna do it anyways. I think that promoting protected sex, safe use of marijuana, safe use of alcohol, that's why it's good that you can go to a place with professionals who know what they're doing, who are gonna tell you to do the right things. Because whether it was or wasn't you, or your majority or not, if someone's doing it, they should have a place that's professional for them to get help.
Oh, I agree
and
with
to,
that.
have assistance. I mean, I'd rather them be allowed to buy a condom or at least go on birth control, because that's what I did as a teen. Is I went on birth control for a bit and then I used condoms because I didn't like birth control. And I think just have protected sex. Of like it's
Un-
really hard,
unfortunately-
and a lot of
unfortunately, it's
people aren't
easy to say,
educated.
but-
no, well, see, here's the thing. It's like, Cam, I kind of agree with both of you because it's easy to say like raised a lot at 18. But here's the thing. I think what it really does come down to is empowerment of education because like you said, growing up, you didn't like birth control. It's really taboo to talk about, but a lot of times birth control doesn't work on, like for me, my mom had spontaneous blood clots. I couldn't be put on it. The needle, they wouldn't put me on. So people don't talk about this mainstream enough for it to be like, okay, what's going to cost you more, a $7 pack of condoms or a $40 pack of diapers every week? So
For 18 years of that.
for 8
raising a
exactly.
kid.
So I think it's more of the education, when you're teaching the kids sex ed, yeah, it's about the anatomy, but it's also about, this is the financial strain that'll happen. This is what will happen to your future. This is your college will be affected. This will be affected. Now you're going to kind of think twice. Maybe I want to wait till I'm 18.
Yeah.
So I think it's, when it comes down to it, it's really about empowering them and not empowering people with pronoun genders in this. It's about empowering them with the knowledge of, if I have sex, this is the consequence.
You know what? Everyone's very well educated on that. I think that if we look at the laws themselves currently, if a person was to have sex with a minor, right, he'll be criminally charged. So a lot of people don't do that if they find out the girl's 15.
But
And
I
again,
think-
even then as well too, I don't think, I have to look up on this as well too, but a 16-year-old girl, I don't think she can go and have sex with a 35-year-old man.
But
That's
she
against
will
the law.
try.
No, so what I'm saying is if that law was and the numbers increased to 18, that 35-year-old man is going to hesitate until the person's 18, right?
Okay.